Blessed love, blessed love, blessed love from the Organic Fitness Show. Blessed love, blessed love, blessed love from the Blessed Love Show. We're here. I couldn't figure out how to make this a backdrop, so maybe I'll just glance at it occasionally. Right, Jai? Yeah, pretty amazing. Talking about carbohydrates. We're here in class. Yes, this is class. And we're going to talk about carbohydrates. Their wonderful bounty. Carbohydrate, if we break down the word carbo, hydro. I think we know what hydrate means. And carbon is our basic function. We are actually a good percentage carbon. A little more water though. So when we have a carbohydrate, we're actually feeding our body hydration and carbon. And when we look at food, we measure food in calories because we actually burn the food in our tummies. And it's important to burn it, as you see Jai make all these movements here. It's important to go through these movements, and if we don't have other movements and just jumping like so, almost twitching is essential, or contracting the muscles as he contracts his spine in a back bend even while sitting on me. It's essential to contract muscles, or else all of the food we eat does not serve the original function I believe it was intended for, to combust in our bodies. When we eat a carbohydrate, we turn it into glucose immediately. It turns into water. Turns into blood sugar. Glucose is blood sugar. So when we eat a carbohydrate, we directly get glucose into our bloodstream, which allows us to move and even think. 90 grams of glucose for our brain just to function. When this glucose gets to its enough level, or its storage capacity, without having too much, you alright, buddy? Without having too much, it will get stored as glycogen. This gets stored in the muscle. What's happening? This gets stored in the muscle. So when we have glycogen in the muscle, we end up storing it in the muscle and other organs like the liver, even a little in the pancreas. When we store this glycogen, or this stored sugar, we end up having more reserved units without having to tap into fat. I believe it's well known that runners will have huge carbohydrate meals, like carbohydrate load, like pasta dinners, before they compete the night before and nights before, because it's very important to have enough carbohydrate so that you are fueled, or an athlete, one is fueled for a future competition just in the next few days. So first we tap through our glucose, then we tap through our glycogen, and then we start tapping into fat stores. That doesn't feel as good though. Some people call that hitting the wall or bunking. So it's important that we have readily available carbohydrate so we could want to be active. Now, the first fuel for activity really does come in our mind. That's the pure energy for activity, is our mind. A child is uninhibited, wants to move all the time like other animals, constantly in movement and eating, foraging. Or a baby also. Now, it's very important that we do this, that we're active, because the carbohydrate, again, won't serve us as intended. So when we end up having that carbohydrate burn up the glucose, tap into the glycogen, and maybe tap into our fat stores daily, we are craving constant sources of carbohydrate. We live in a refined world though right now, and we have a lot of refined, even synthesized food. The first time we synthesized the food was or a nutrient was in the 1900s when we synthesized vitamin B1, a vital amine. This saves countless lives learning how to do this. Now, we still refine other foods and we look at it as quite dangerous. And the way that we process foods, sometimes we look at dangerous, like corn syrup. Or when we really refine foods, the Twinkie, or the corn chip, or oil, or protein, or sugar. We have refined oil, protein, and sugar to its perfect state of, or I shouldn't say perfect maybe, that's not the best word, but its purest state of just protein, just carbohydrate, just fat. And we look at the protein one as a health food still. We're convinced that the carbohydrate one is horrible for us. Sugar, refined sugar. And a lot of people are convinced that the fat one is also good for us and essential to have olive oil. It's interesting though that we don't look to the olives, or with the protein we don't just look to the peas, instead of we look for pea protein isolate, or instead of soybeans we go to soy protein isolate. So it is an interesting refined world we live in, and it serves us in many ways. If we're hungry, and even when most of us are ready to eat, or most of us even preparing to eat, have a good amount of refined products and even synthesized food for spices and different condiments in our cabinets, in our pantries at home, and we readily go out to restaurants that have this amazing taste of refined and processed food. Pardon my glasses. I hope they're straight. Now you're going to be staring at them. Are they straight? Thank you. So when we use this carbohydrate, we end up functioning properly, yet it's important to get that in its whole food state. And I don't mean shop at Whole Foods, I mean eat Whole Foods. Hopefully don't shop at any stores. This right here, Swiss cheese looking plant, this actually reaps a fruit called Delicioso Monstera. There's so many fruits here where I am in the tropics in Florida. Now, you may be in a different area and you could get your carbohydrates from different things beyond fruits, from root vegetables like yams, sweet potatoes, or even tubers like potatoes, white potatoes, or carrots, or beets, and you could cook them, obviously, and get a huge amount of carbohydrates so you could have fuel to exercise. There are many fruits that are seasonal that are not in the tropics, such as stone fruit and apples. And when we get a seasonal fruit that doesn't have to travel so far, it benefits us in countless different ways. The colors, the phytonutrients, they prevent and could reverse different types of cancers and all different types of disorders, including diabetes. And when it comes to actually utilizing that sugar, let's remember insulin is not the only form of utilizing a sugar. You could uptake 90% of that glucose with your muscles. So it's very important to be active. Also, sleep. If you get under 5 hours of sleep a night, that could greatly inhibit glucose function up to 40%. There are so many studies on how adding fruits into our diet benefits us, whether we're diabetic, not diabetic, sick or not sick. And in some studies where people have eaten over 30 servings of fruits and vegetables, like the Framingham study, one of the largest studies that we've had in Massachusetts, named after a town that was studied with thousands of people. The people that ate 30 plus servings of fruits and vegetables had the least risk of disease. So there usually isn't a limit to fruit and vegetable consumption, especially fruit. Why do I say especially fruit? Because it offsets the calories that we eat of other refined processed foods or high animal product diet. It's important to have a high amount of plant foods for 90% of people on the planet. If plants are not available, humans go to far extent to get the plants. Eskimo will cut open the stomach of a seal just to get that plant matter so they could get vitamin C, which we do not produce. We need to consume vitamin C. Some think, like Dr. Paul in a great documentary called Food Matters, that we need to consume grams and grams of vitamin C every day. Most nutritionists agree that we need at least 1,000 milligrams, which is a gram, and the RDA is at 60 to 90 milligrams a day. So does that lead us towards health, living, or thriving? Because when I have huge amounts of vitamin C, I feel like I'm thriving. I'll even have it supplementally, that synthesized or refined stuff, when I'm not feeling at 110%. Thriving, feeling amazing, feeling like this is the best day of our lives. Thank you so much for our existence. And that's really what I want to touch on every day of my life is, oh my God, this is the greatest day of my life. So I make sure to have a certain amount of fuel, carbohydrate in my diet. Usually start the day off with local seasonal fruit. And I'm not talking about just, you know, one little piece of fruit or one little box of strawberries. If I were to get strawberries, I'd want to have 2 or 3 pounds, 2 or 3 of those big packages. And don't knock it till you try it. Try eating a few pounds of fruit, because 1 pound of fruit is not that many calories. A serving of fruit, like a hand size, is less than 100 calories, and it's going to have a great percentage of the fruit is going to be fiber. Like 20% of that fruit calorie is going to be fiber, which is not caloric at all. Fiber is undigested. Yeah, fiber is undigested, goes right through our gastrointestinal tract and protects us. And fiber is a carbohydrate. That's why carbohydrates are essential. No one could live without carbohydrates or without a lot of problems. And most people that have only fiber as their carbohydrate have some problems with irritability usually, or the lack of the ability to do anaerobic anabolic exercise. Anaerobic anabolic exercise is very important, where we slightly tear the muscles, where we actually build muscle overnight because we slightly tore the muscles. And anaerobic because we want to train at a higher threshold so we could train at an athlete's level. And what are the prize food of athletes? Fruits and vegetables by the mountains of fruits and vegetables. So if you're adding fruits and vegetables to that, amazing. Realize that it is possible to eat just fruits and vegetables. Just try it out for a few days or a few weeks or a few months or a year. It's an amazing thing. You don't have to always do it, but it is possible. It's a wonderful cleanse. To not feel light and weak, you'd have to eat your amount of calories, which is 20 pounds is 2,000 calories, 30 pounds is 3,000 calories, roughly. And this is majorly of fruit, because fruit is more caloric. Fruit is not high in sugar, it is a high percentage of sugar. It is very low in calories, so it's going to be low in sugar. If you have just one Coca-Cola, that's like 44 grams of sugar. That's like 3 mangoes, 3 servings of fruit, which most people can't even fit in their belly because of the fiber content and the water content. Blessed love, blessed love, blessed love. Hope you enjoyed this amazing class today at an amazing place in South Florida. Check out and support your parks. This is Snyder Park in South Florida. Blessed love. Jai, thanks for joining us in your teachings, and thank you everyone. Subscribe. Blessed love.